Okay, here we go. Day 47. Day 47. Let me check. We're going to go on a little exploratory walk. I just want to make sure the audio is clean. Audio is clean. We are on. You guys are going to like this. Yep, it is day 47. We have some good guests coming up, but I'm going to tell you where we're going to start right now. And that is that there is a report, and I'll give credit to Nancy Grace, who we have been hearing about this, by the way. And again, good morning, everybody, on this day 47, our continued coverage with the Nancy Guthrie case. So now this is the House, obviously. And we are right now, we're live on Facebook. Good morning, everybody. We're live on YouTube. By the way, thank you. Our YouTube crowd continues to build and grow, but I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So Nancy Grace, they came out, and a lot of people were talking about this last night. And I think the camera's inverted, but suspicious vehicle spotted at 10 o'clock in the morning on the Saturday. But here's the thing. They misspelled the name of it. It's not Vita Entrada. It's well, I have it right here, and we're going to go down there. So it's North Via Entrada. And this is the path that we're going to take right now. Now, I like to go on foot. Some people just drive it. But I have gone this way. I'm going to give you an idea of what it would be like if someone came in from that way. And we're going to retrace the steps, because you could then escape that way. And this is, it's NV Entrada. NV Entrada. I was shocked that last night, that's not a criticism on Nancy Grace, it's more her staff, but people were repeatedly putting out Vita Entrada. And if you try to find Vita Entrada on a map, you don't find it. So a suspicious vehicle was spotted there. And we've heard about that. I've heard a description of it. So I thought it'd be helpful if we took a walk, and on this, beautiful Thursday. It's going to be very warm here today, but we're off and running. And I want to show you how they could have got in. Now, I did post on X about this, and I want to thank True Crime Belieber that people, they were calling it by the wrong name. Now, I'm not trying to nitpick. But I do think that's this whole thing it's not an easy case. It becomes a little more of a difficult case if we're not using the right terminology. So, and I'm going to walk it right now, and then we're going to walk it back. It's NV Entrada. You pick it up from River Road. You go to Carmine Cresta to Maryville, and then Nancy's Street. So we're going to do that right now. And so why not? It's a nice day. Then I think this will also be helpful, because then many of you can get a sense of what it's like with some of the streets. I know somebody could drive it, but I just prefer to walk it, because you learn more, I find. I mean, people have to do what works for them. I do a lot of walking. Some of you that follow and watch, well, maybe you don't know that, but I do. So I usually am in the habit, if I'm not on assignment like this, just normally I will run 9 to 10 miles a day. So we're going to get started. This is, of course, Nancy's home. I also want to clear something up. I don't know how some of the misinformation spreads. So I saw someone, and I actually called them out. They said the neighbors threw out cards and so forth for the family. That is completely false. I was here. The neighbors came. They put the cards and notes in the mailbox. There's no one in the driveway at Nancy's home right now. And they just got rid of there were dead real flowers here that whatever you call those things, javelinas were eating. So there were rodents here. But this woman on Facebook, this is terrible that the neighbors threw out. They didn't throw out anything. And it looks much better. You don't need all that. And again, if you're coming out here, it is nice. But just bring artificial flowers. The temperature is going to be over 100 degrees today. I think it's going to get to 104. But I want to clear that up. The neighbors here are terrific. The neighbors didn't throw anything out except dead flowers, because you don't want to develop a rodent problem. So yeah, it's a little bit smaller. But would you rather have, and they kind of bunched them up a little bit, would you rather have nice, bright, I think it looks better, nice, bright, artificial flowers with all the beautiful yellow? And other people have put in some nice things. I have been here at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it actually looks very nice the way it glows. But I just want to be very clear. I don't want you to push back on anyone that says that. The neighbor association, they didn't do anything wrong. So we're going to go on our way. So this is, and the reason we're doing this is if you saw Nancy Grace. Now I've heard about this as well, and then other people are picking up on it, and they're talking about a suspicious vehicle, and they're trying to determine how they entered here. Now, I believe we can do this. I do have my umbrella. We're going to try to stick to the shade. It is we're under a heat advisory here in Tucson. So a heat advisory, and I can already tell it's already getting a little hot. But I still think I can do. Oh, I know I can do this, and it's going to work out great. And then we have some good guests coming up as well. We're not going to intrude on any of the neighbors, but I want you to see, and I think it'll be helpful. And I'm not in a rush. This isn't a race or anything. And again, thank you, everybody. But I want to push back on that. And one of the reasons I tell you is because then people are saying, responding to it. That's awful. They had no right to throw. They didn't throw anything out. They put cards and letters in the mailbox so the family can retrieve it there. The neighbors that came out that I have met, and I want all of you to know this, they are thoughtful, they are generous, they are kind, they're educated. And they deserve better than some hagbag spreading. I'm almost tempted to call her out. I don't know where this stuff comes from, and then it just starts to spread. It does make sense to get rid of the dead flowers. And as far as those gaudy signs that Pinky made, who would want that? So, if I passed away and there was someone putting those gaudy signs in the cemetery, I'm going to leave a note for my family to toss them out. And I'll bet Nancy would toss them out. The people in this area, again, they got together and they did a nice thing, and we were live, and I didn't disturb them, and I know 3 of them. And so I just don't like, there's some stuff that gets out there and we can't do anything about it with the misinformation. But then there's other stuff that we can. So I want to show you, and I can't stress this again at night. Let me just also say a quick hello. Good morning, Jane Rice. Again, if we're on Facebook, you can send stars. Thank you to everybody. Boy, our YouTube following is just exploding. Plus on X, people really liked. I'm going to edit. I just haven't had time. We're going to edit some of the guests we had yesterday. But I think it would be, beneficial to you to see that when you go the route that we're going to take, especially at night, it becomes a little bit of a maze. And I am on foot, but I'm still going to use a map. But in darkness, you would really have to know your way around. You would. But I want to be very clear about that. The neighbors, those neighbors that came and cleaned it up, they did that for Nancy, and they didn't throw anything away. So, hold on. I do want to call out that person because I for those of you that follow, no, I can't stand people that put out misinformation on something that could easily be easily checked. Here we go. Sorry about that. Just very quickly, I want to find out because I don't have time to respond to all the comments, but that I push back on, and that I actually did respond. It was on Facebook, and it's embarrassing to me that it was on my Facebook page. I'll give it one more 30 seconds. If I can't find it, I can't find it. I may not be able to find it, but All right. We'll just go along. All right. We'll call her out another time. But anyhow, let me just check messages while we're going to stop in the shade when we can. But I feel good. And again, for those, thank you. Look at this. Here we go with the, that is, thank you, Bluebird. Thank you, Bluebird. New member on YouTube. And remember, YouTube, you can send super chats and stickers. And okay. I also want to thank Kara. I didn't even see that. So the CNN interview came out. The printed version is better. They interviewed me for quite a while, but the audio is fine, and I have no complaints on the interview, which I will be posting. I did post it on Facebook, and then I shared it on X. But let's get to. I want to show you the route that they talked about and why I'm doing this because it would be helpful to you if you're trying to, you're not here trying to get a sense who you all are, of the route they've taken, but it seems to be coming out is this talk that they believe they may have gotten out of here. So this is Maribel. And so we're at Nancy Street in Maribel. So what they are saying is the vehicle, I'm going to take you on the route, would have entered coming from this way. So this is the suspicious vehicle that they are trying to identify. Again, I give full credit. It's Nancy Grace that was kind of breaking this down. I've heard about it, and other people have talked about it, and I've talked about that they believe they even have a color of the vehicle. So this is, and just to back up, so you take the right, depending on, oh no, the camera's inverted, so it would look left. But anyhow, Nancy's Street would be that way, right? That we just came from. So, we're on I thought this would be helpful. This is me in front of the home, which we could do. I'm going to end up back there. I don't know how many people we're going to see out today because here in the Tucson area, there is a heat advisory. So temperatures, actually, it's over the next several days. Now there are some construction projects around here a little bit, not accusing anyone of anything. Dumpster. A lot of times you do see people out walking in this area in this time of the day. What I've noticed is it's morning and nighttime. Again, I could have driven it. I think I just find I'd learn more when I walk because then sometimes you stop and talk to people or you observe things as opposed to just being in a vehicle and then like speeding by it. And then down here is where we're going to pick up. Now, again, just so people understand, this is the route that people seems to be, I don't want to say common knowledge, but it's definitely out there that they that this is the route they believe they entered from, which would not surprise me because the other way you could go is North Campbell, but there's more. There's some businesses off North Campbell, which I think would make it a little more challenging for them to get around it. So we're on Maribel. Again, look at that sky. You know what's amazing, folks, is in the Northeast, I mean, if you're on vacation in July or August in Rhode Island or Massachusetts, if you're in Newport or Narragansett or Musquamacut or Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket or Cape Cod, and if you get on vacation like a couple of days in a row of this type of weather, it's just an absolute home run. And then you come out here and every day is like this. Every day is just like this, except today's going to be exceptionally hot. So I also want you to picture, now there's some his telephone poles, and I don't remember, can't see. The poles may have a little lights, but for some reason when I've driven this and I've been on this road at 5 in the morning, and it is as pitch black as it can be. And then we're going to go down. So again, our concept when we get to I'll go right up to the street sign, but this is the route that they're now alleging, or they seem to believe, I should say, pointing in the direction that this is the route that the abductors, when they abducted Nancy. And this is where there's now a belief there was a suspicious vehicle in this area that morning. And I think it was also here. I think the vehicle, if I have this right, was also here in the early morning hours. Okay, now I want to just check our map, make sure I'm going to go the right way. You can see again. I want to go that way, right? We want to get to the Entrada. So we're going to work with this way a little bit. And I think then we should pick it up. I also want you to see how the the homes are set off the road very nicely. Now, this is also interesting. They do have a warning neighborhood watch, no solicitation, but there's no lights out here at night. There's no lights out here at night, like not even close. Remember, they consider lights to be light pollution. And so a lot of people, they don't even use their outside lights either, as a matter of fact. As we roll along. So I thought this would be, at least then you can kind of envision the abductors coming in this manner, how they could have approached. But this is, and I think Nancy Grace is a good source. I've heard about this, but she went public with it last night. I guess I'm thinking she does some crime show. Let me also just, okay, someone's trying to reach me. Quite all right. Now, let's see what these signs. That's interesting. White vehicle just parked there. All right, I want to get a sense of where we are. I also want you to see how, like, let me just pan around. So you really have to know your way. Like, where are you going? If then suddenly, if you don't know your way around here, I don't think anybody's going anywhere. Okay, we're going to go that way. I prefer, so again, I want to just show you that would be the way that we just came to Nancy's home. And look at the beautiful Catalina foothills in the distance. So this is Cresta. It is a beautiful area. And by the way, for those that bike and like to walk and run, I mean, it's just ideal. Some of the people that I see riding, it's like they're training. Again, thank you everybody on YouTube. Remember on Facebook, you can share that you are watching. And at the bottom of this hill, and again, I want to just turn back for a moment. There's a morning person, I won't say who, but morning television person that told me they came this way early in the morning. They were using the GPS and they got lost 3 times. I believe it though, trying to get to the house where they were going to be, live on television. I just want to show this. See how, like the homes, they're not hanging by the roadside. And then look at how all of these homes have, by the way, long driveway and then barrier of, brush for privacy in front. Now, the thing about that is, there's no cameras out here. And there's, unless there is someone, I won't say who, but there is a neighbor that apparently does have some pretty elaborate cameras, but they're the exception. Because most people, even if you had a Ring camera on your door, it's certainly not going to pick up anything out here on the road. I mean, not even close. Most of the people with the front doors, with the way their driveways are situated, you can't even see their door from the road. So, but I also understand just tuning in, just kind of doing the walk to show you. You're going to be hearing a lot about this street. You're going to be hearing about, again, maybe there's others that have also talked about this. It's very possible that Brian Enton has talked about it. I'm not trying to just give all credit to Nancy Grace, but I did know last night her posting about it seemed to generate a lot of talk. And just as an example of some of the homes, like look at these 2 driveways, right? I mean, beautiful, but look how far off the road they are. And, they're not seeing anything. I assure you, they're not seeing anything. Definitely not. So and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's, very secluded. The people that have homes here, and it's very desirable in that way. I really like the Catalina foothills. For anyone that's wondering, I want to thank CNN. They did a nice piece. It certainly wasn't a hatchet job. Some nice quotes on me, saying I came out here thinking I'd be here for a week, and then with a manhunt, and then here I am. I'm still here. I want to just check the map. And the reason is because, as you can tell, it is very easy to get lost out here. Also, oh, good. Thank you for that. Thank you to Devin, super sticker. Look at that. The YouTube crowd continues to grow. Now, let me just check. I want to make sure I could hold up on the map of where we are. And I believe this is, yeah, this is where we pick up. It's via Entrada. This is where we're going to then go down, and then that goes to East River. So I'll just show you. See, I'm at the blue, and then you get an idea. So I think we can actually walk on, right? We walk against traffic. So actually, let me just, again, folks, a little bit of a walk and explore. It is it's a beautiful neighborhood, as I've talked about. Everybody feels terrible about Nancy. It is day 47, and hard to believe a little bit. As far as my plans, I am going to see my family at Easter, but I don't think we're leaving. I don't think we're leaving before that. There is a church out here I've been going to, so I don't know, but definitely, I mean, Easter's not. Easter's in. I don't know. Let's just focus on right now. Okay, and I want to show you the street sign, even though it may be in the camera inverted. So this is Camino Cresta, and this is the street. See, via Entrada. Now, for some reason, whoever was preparing that, they put Vida Entrada, almost like Vida Loca. It's not like that. It's via Entrada. So we're going to continue to walk it. This is the route that they're saying, the route that I just, we came down. And I am going to walk it back also. But if we take that, go right up there, that brings us back to Nancy's house. I want to just show you the surroundings. So there you can see the beautiful, majestic, spectacular Catalina foothills. Really just remarkable. And then I want to show you, we're going to go right down. This does come right out to, is it river? I believe so. So, but again, I prefer to walk it. I'm sure now there's some people like today, they'll just, if you drive it, it's like 4 or 5 minutes. But I think to demonstrate to you the remoteness of it and the route itself, I always find it more effective to walk. So, in just a moment, I do want to make sure I don't miss any news. It is also, by the way, see how this is a one way. This is a one way. And then, so you're then just flowing down there. So if someone, they could have come from Nancy's and then they're escaping that way. But this is the way they would have come in. We'll actually go back to Nancy's house on the other side, on the side that they would have been leaving. But I follow, you walk against traffic. Surprise the people that don't follow that, by the way. You always walk against traffic. And if you're on a bike, you ride with traffic. But now, again, not to be a broken record or redundant, but nobody's seeing anything right here. Oh, they have a nice little book thing here. Again, I believe camera's inverted. It is via Entrada. So I want to just check one thing, just to make sure there's no one trying to message me. Hope you guys are enjoying our little walk here. Again, if you're riding along, just my opinion, you don't catch everything the way that you do when you're on foot. It's just my experience and personal preference. Uh, okay. We roll along on this day 47. Now, we do have a guest at the top of the hour, but we are in good shape. What kind of cell service do we have here? Oh, we're fine. Okay, so we're going to talk to Stephanie in about a half hour. By the way, the sheriff, the New York Post has a thing. He just continues to be under fire. Um, they show him going to the health club. They show him riding around in his car. I don't know. I mean, it's 47 days in. The guy has the right to go to the gym to keep himself physically healthy, mentally healthy. People want to go after him. I mean, I get that. It's definitely been some mistakes. But again, you know what else was interesting here is the way, like, look at how, see, like these little cut throughs so you don't have to go all the way around. And then that you just slide that way. So it's, my point is, it's very easy. And a member of law enforcement pointed this out too. See how he's going to come to our side, but it's very easy for someone to circle, and there's no one ever fully passing them. So if you come around here, like these nice little, instead of having someone to go all the way around. But again, I also want to point out, notice the beautiful natural barrier in between. And I want you to look at it. People may not pick up on it, but I'm telling right now, if this were nighttime, as soon as it gets dark, you cannot see around that corner. There is, I mean, there is, when I say no light, there is no light. And in some of these little pockets, a vehicle easily could have been pulled over, waiting, um, pulled over for a short period of time or even a longer period of time. This is, I mean, you're seeing right now in daytime that it's not exactly heavily traveled, let alone when you get into the nighttime. Now, here comes some bikers. Morning. Again, another turnaround. No lights. Imagine the FBI going to this house. Did you see anything? Did we what? Did you see anything? Did we see anything? Look at the driveway. Did we see anything? You can't even see the house from, you can't even see the end of the driveway. And I don't believe I see, there are some people um, in different parts of the country that might have a camera there. I don't see a lot of cameras out here on the road. As a matter of fact, I don't see any cameras out here on the road. So, again, this is the route for those that are just tuning in, that they believe that this suspicious vehicle, well, actually, they do believe there's a suspicious vehicle that was spotted several times on this road that we're on right now, both the morning that Nancy disappeared and then in the early morning hours. So I believe it sure seems as though that they believe that this was the route used, look at that rabbit, in and out to get to her home. So that may not seem significant to some people, but establishing the route of how they got to the house, Nancy's home, and then how they got, her away from the home is actually important. these ADT signs are everywhere. I have no idea if they were like this before, but they're certainly like this now. The area is, I mean, you know what else I want to just point out, everybody? And again, I know it's not that interactive because we're doing a little walk and talk here, but the but there is real fear around here that I don't think the media addresses. This happened. I think the sheriff, I think they should be doing a kind of a I don't know, town hall meeting of some kind or something like that. Because the people that I talk to, there's still fear that, you know, if it happened to Nancy, that perhaps it could, who's to say it couldn't happen to somebody else? And then you have some side streets, excuse me. Again, this is the path that the vehicle took. Again, I know the camera's inverted, but via Entrada. It's not Vita. And this is where the suspicious vehicle, they go Serve Pro. This is where the suspicious vehicle was spotted, and they haven't come out and said it, but it sure starts to seem as though this was the route that they think the abductors took to get to her home, and then at the same token to escape from her home. That's what seems to be emerging. I want to be very clear. That's not coming from the sheriff's people. That's coming from, you know, the media reports that are following this story and checking out the story and getting information about that. There is a local resident in Nancy's neighborhood that does have cameras that seemingly does have video of this suspicious vehicle. Now, I've heard, and I've said this, that I've heard it's a blue vehicle. It's a blue truck. Now, I want to be very clear. They have not, law enforcement, they have not put out anything of like a be on the lookout. They have not. They have not said we are looking for this vehicle. That's just what I have picked up on and then heard from various people here on the ground. And then I want to just double check, but yeah, Nancy Grace also, who I think Nancy Grace is very credible and yeah, suspicious vehicle on via Entrada the morning before she went missing. So, and then goes through, they're looking for this suspicious vehicle, 10 a.m., the morning of the last day she was seen alive. So I know some people may not think that that's necessarily a big deal, but a big part of this that has been lacking in the case is number one, a suspect, and also a vehicle. And those are two things. It would go a long way if, in fact, they could come out with, boy, if they could identify the vehicle, a lot of good things could happen with this investigation. But right now, I mean, I believe, as many of you know, and I'm going to keep going, but they don't have that. They absolutely don't have that. I know they wish they had it, but they have been unable to come up with. And that's when people talk about the mystery, and we'll keep going. And then I want to come back the other side. When people talk about the mystery, okay, so even if they get the vehicle, then they have to find out who was, who was driving the vehicle, and then who that is. How did they get the vehicle? Where is the vehicle now? There's still a lot of work here. I remember with, for those of you in Boston, if you remember, with Aaron Hernandez, there was the incident at the nightclub in Boston where some guys got shot. In a car pulled up to this car, these guys at a red light right outside, I think it was Club Rumor, and it went unsolved until, then they started to piece together that he had been in the club. And then this was when he had killed Odin Lloyd. But when they were looking for this vehicle that had been at a red light and fired at these guys at a red light. And when they finally found the vehicle, it was a renter car or a renter, a SUV that was rented, but he had it in a garage in Connecticut. And whatever arrangement he had with the rental car company, I think he had it for like 2 years in a garage. So then when they were able to, when they located the vehicle that Hernandez had used, that's where then they could start to pull off all the DNA. So he did not get rid of the vehicle. And then he used that rental vehicle when they took out Odin Lloyd, because then they found he had bought Bubblicious gum, and they found some of it in the vehicle. And I think it had a shell casing. I don't fully remember. Okay. Now in the chat, you can put where you're watching from. I'm obviously focused on the road a little bit. This is again, this guy's always riding around here. The Entrada. And the good news is I'm also going to walk back this way to Nancy's home. Not to be redundant. Let me just stop and get some water. Not to be redundant, you can, oh, damn it. Here we go. You can see the natural barrier in between. I think that makes it convenient that if you were coming on this side and there's a vehicle on the other side, you wouldn't necessarily see it. And conversely, obviously, the other way as well. Okay. This would be very difficult to do this afternoon when the temperature is expected to be 104 to 105. They're saying that they believe this is going to be the warmest or hottest March on record here in the Tucson area. That's why also I notice that the activity that you see with people walking, biking, running, not a lot of runners, but biking and walking, I mostly notice it in the morning or nighttime, but not during the heat of the day. Florida's like that as well. Again, see how number one, at nighttime, pitch black. Number two, natural barrier that they use in between. because this is one way and then it's one way the other way. So a lot of privacy. And then what do we have in between? Again, side street and then a nice little turnaround. So if someone wanted to circle around, you were able to do that. And or you could even park for a short period of time if you needed to in in uh, in one of those areas. But it is day 47, and we'll see where this goes. I think what's interesting, and you're going to love to hear the guests we have coming up, where we're going to speak with our legal analyst, attorney Stephanie Murphy. One of the things we're going to talk to her about is we are hearing that the FBI is questioning these construction companies, and they want a list of all the workers that they have now or have had. And I think that's interesting. And I've also heard that starting to possibly even extend to, like, maybe we should find out about all the workers in this area. So whether it be who are all the landscapers and pool cleaners and so forth. So talk to Stephanie about what are the legal obligations. What if someone says, no, I don't want to do that? You know, my crew didn't do anything wrong. I'm not sharing that stuff with you. Where does that go? Now, I also want to mention, I believe this area was searched, but I believe on the first day they had all the canines out, David dogs. I believe that happened. I could try to actually, as I think of it, follow up with the sheriff's office just to confirm that. They have been, I'll say one thing, the Pima County Sheriff's Office, they do respond. Every communication I send to them, I do get a response back. It's not necessarily the information that or the answer I want, I should say, but they do respond. So I will do that. Now, again, a couple things. Notice it's quiet. Picture at night. I mean, this is a way you could pull over right here. No one really sees you. There's a house up top. No one, and there's nobody out walking at night. So there are different little spots. If someone needed to pull over and wait for someone, or then maybe even approach somewhere on foot. There are definitely little spots you could do that. It's a little bit of a tricky corner. If anything happens, at least we'll capture it live. I wanted to show you again. Look at that driveway. So now remember, they don't have to worry about snow or ice, but you go to that door. Did you see or hear anything last night? I don't think so. I think we know what the answer would be. Let's see. It's around the corner. some blind corners around here. Okay, and then this part comes out to where then notice it's joint traffic lanes. It's just up top that it is, or as you go into it, I should say, where it breaks off into one way. Let me just double check. Okay, so this road, we'll go down to it. It leads to East River. That's where it leads to. So, and which is a main thoroughfare, And the reason why we're doing our little walking tour on this day 47 is simply the fact that there seems to be, blue flag. Interesting. There seems to be growing consensus that this is the route the individuals took. Number one, when they were approaching Nancy's home, and more importantly, when they exited and left Nancy Guthrie's home. And again, the mystery remains why they took her, and where did they take her? It's also, it's remarkable, 47 days in, no one in custody, no vehicle that they've put out that we should be looking for, and no announced suspects or person of interest. Not that they've announced. Not that they're seeking the public's help to help identify what I want to say. By the way, you can tell this is, to me, the appeal. It's just, I think, and I hope by me doing this video, it also captures, I think it will, that how, if you don't know your way around here, let alone at nighttime, I would think this becomes like a maze. There are times that when I first got out here, that I would go to take a road and it would turn out it was actually someone's driveway. And that was during the daytime, let alone at night. A snake? No. Okay. So this is then, again, I'll go all the way. It's taken a little longer than I thought. I thought it would actually just be, I thought I'd be up and back in an hour, but I didn't map it out, so I wasn't exactly sure how long. I believe she get a sense of, this is her neighborhood. These are the roads she'd be on. These are the roads that they believe that whoever took her, that this was the route that they took. Hold on just a moment. Okay. Let's see where we are. Okay, we're very close to East River Road, which is the main thoroughfare. When we hit East River Road, then we're going to walk back to Nancy's home. What I do like, and again, thank you everyone. Right now we're live on X. Follow us. If you're on X, you can follow us on YouTube or Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you can share that you're watching. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Thank you for all the super chats, super stickers on Facebook, all the stars. Just checked a message. Someone said, are you the same John DiPietro that was featured in the CNN story? Yes. You know, and she, it's actually a nice story. I don't have a problem with the story, but I will. It's on X, and then I did post it on Facebook. I'll post some screenshots to YouTube. So, you know what else I like? A lot of people are going to say, oh, I didn't even get out and walk or run or bike ride today. It was just too hot. Well, we don't have that problem. And look what we see right here, East River Road. So I have taken you, and now I'm going to walk back. I have taken you from Nancy's home to East River Road. Now, I am curious, but actually, I've been on this road so many times. There are businesses, but well, I'll just show you. But it's still pretty secluded, so to speak. So this is East River Road, and I'm going to come right over here. Again, the sign's inverted because of our camera, but you can see the sign via Entrada. So when I pan, and they believe whoever came in here and took her out came in this way, it's pretty busy, but notice you don't see, there's no storefronts right around here. If anything, I think that's housing, apartments. See how they have the wall? So once they hit here, did they go left? Did they go right? This is also, again, I believe the camera is inverted, but Catalina Foothills Estates, number 7. So just for those that are just tuning in, I want to check our Wi-Fi here. So this is what you're looking at is the intersection of River and Via Entrada. River and Via Entrada. All right. And we are going to talk to our guest coming up. I could continue to walk. Let me just check. This has really good Wi-Fi right here. So I'm almost tempted. We may just pause here for a moment, everybody. I could try to read some of your questions. Also coming up next hour, we're also going to be live on the radio. Thank you for, oh, good. And how do you guys like the chat on the screen? I want to just see, let me also check. So a couple things. So you could say, when you hear someone say, yeah, he went up it's Via Entrada, right here at River. This is where they believe that the person came in. Now, we walked it from Nancy's home, and we're at 4,722 steps. But I walked over her to home, so I'm going to say it's 4,400 steps, maybe, something like that. How many miles is that? I want to just, okay, so 3 miles, and then we'll walk the 3 miles back. So let me, when I have the comments on the screen, they're a little more difficult for me to read. I do that. No, I kind of like them though. People like them on the screen. So we'll go like that. But again, let me say hello to everybody. And this day 47. Camera. There we go. All right. So again, good morning, everybody. Thank you. Who sent that? Look at that. That is Soulful Rebels. Thank you with the super sticker. Thank you, Soulful. Folks, again, on Facebook, you can send stars. On YouTube, and again, we are doing more on YouTube. Our YouTube audience continues to grow. We're on our way to 100,000 followers on YouTube. We're in the 80s right now. It will continue to grow. I am going to do more on YouTube. And we're also doing just a programming mode. The plan now is we're going to do basically at least 3 hours every morning, right here, Facebook and YouTube. I like the combination. Do some TikTok live in the afternoon. It's worth it. The news, for those that pay attention, there is a lot of news, and the news is worth it. But I think, I believe there's value in someone like yourself seeing, okay, this is where we're told they took her out. And then several things, you can come to your own conclusions about it. But this is a made road. And you know something else? Let's talk about it. What did we not see what did we not hit? There's no red lights. This is the first red light. And if they took a right, this is River. If Pete says we're good to go. If they took a right, then you're not even stopping for that. Now, I do want to check, where did they go? Okay, they leave here. Where did they go after that? I don't know. They could have gone left. They could have hit, maybe they hit a green light. So, but this is, and again, it's a little bit easier if it makes it a little more difficult for me to show because of the camera, the map's inverted. But what I want you to look at is when we didn't hit any red lights. We actually really didn't hit many stop signs. And keep in mind at how, at the early morning hours that it was. So whoever did this, what you're looking at is they believe this is the key. Now, I also want to point out where I think, and I'm not, accusing, and I know some of it's Monday morning quarterbacking, but both the people that live here and Pima County Sheriff, right here at the intersection of River and Via Entrada, if they had flock cameras here, okay, if they had flock cameras would go, and we're going to talk about this with our guest that's going to be joining us at the top of next hour, but if they had flock cameras here, they would beam off every license plate that comes through here. And if they had that, they would, really be in good shape and wouldn't have been in the predicament that they are right now, as far as that they cannot figure out how this vehicle, or more importantly, what vehicle took her in and out of here. So if I know right now there's a lot of talk, and someone we're gonna talk with is Jamie Copenhaver, law enforcement expert. He's going to join me coming up next hour as well. Law enforcement legal. He is Medal of Valor. He worked with FBI. He has tremendous background. We're going to talk to him coming up. His thoughts on the uh, Guthrie investigation. We are going to talk though with our legal analyst, attorney Stephanie Murphy, coming up momentarily. And we're going to talk to her not only about the Guthrie conversation, but there's a couple of also other legal stories that we're going to touch on with Stephanie. So, but for all the talk about a recall on the sheriff and so forth, what I would be demanding is, and I'll ask Jamie about this, but I just think they could be more proactive with law enforcement. Police departments that I work the most with are Providence, Cranston, and they use those flock cameras. And right now, even if you are, one of those individuals that feel, I don't want Big Brother and this other type of thing. But the fact of the matter is, if you had these flock cameras here, it's a sense of protection, and they don't interfere with anyone. And they would only be used if someone then, in an instance like this, you would know every license plate. That's how they caught the Brown University suspect. By the way, that's how they catch a lot of suspects. So what I don't understand, and especially for those that live in Arizona or live in this area, is I just don't understand why, you wouldn't use and utilize, is what I'm trying to say, that type of technology. Because, okay, you want to live in an area you just saw, it's very private. There's no street lights. There's no one seeing anything. But the problem is that can attract people that feel you are somewhat easy prey for crime. And so then we have a situation like the situation with Nancy Guthrie. And, and then it just remains this mystery on this day 47 of exactly with what happened to her. So I want to just double check. Yeah, because different people try to get in touch with me. We are going to begin now. Um, Now, I also want to touch on, someone put out that the FBI is back in her neighborhood. Her neighborhood is huge. So it's very possible there could be FBI at someone's home. And right now at 10:06, again, it is the John DePietro Show. We are live on our YouTube channel, which continues to grow. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. We're also live on Facebook. We're live on X. And we're also live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. And remember, check out the website, depetro.com, which is brought to you by the Cohesive Inn. Now, depetro.com, we have links to all of our social media, whether it is Facebook, whether it is YouTube, whether it is X or Instagram or TikTok. Check it out at depetro.com. Brought to you by the Cohesive Inn. When I do return, and someday I will return, but when I return, I'm going to have a great meal at the Cohesive Inn, 226 Cohesive Avenue in West Warwick. Well, folks, let's bring her on right now. She is our legal expert. And Stephanie, thank you for taking the time to join us. I want to start off that with the Guthrie investigation, and we remain on the ground in the Tucson area, the Catalina foothills. In the investigation, we're now hearing that the FBI is going around in Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood, there are various home projects. There's people that are remodeling their home, rebuilding their home. I'm not talking about something small, something, sometimes these things can take 6 months, 9 months. And from what we understand, the FBI is requesting from contractors, they want a list of all their employees and all their socials, and not just a name. They want to be able to identify every person. Now, someone did ask me, who lives in the neighborhood, what are the legal responsibilities of a contractor when they are approached by law enforcement and say, we would like to get a list of all of your employees that have been working in this area?
Well, I think it definitely depends on how the contractor feels about that and stuff like that. So, do they have an obligation to assist the police? Not necessarily, but what they do have an obligation to is answer questions honestly if they are going to answer them, or tell them that they don't care to answer the questions and stuff like that. They can try to get information through subpoenas and stuff like that. If a contractor does not want to provide them the information, they can definitely try to get it through subpoenaing the information. But I feel like in this case, a lot of the contractors would want to cooperate and give them their lists and stuff like that. So it's up to each individual contractor about how they want to respond. But hopefully, in this case, they would be willing to respond and give information, but they don't necessarily have to.
Let's say right now that you have a contractor, and let's be realistic that we're 90 minutes from the Mexican border. But let's just say I have some guys on my crew that, for different reasons, I don't know exactly their background, how they got here. They show up, I pay them in cash, and I'm not exactly sure their immigration status. So what if then I don't want to get some of my people in trouble?
I mean, that's a great concern, especially right now, and especially in the last, months and stuff like that. That would be a huge concern. I think some contractors have. What my advice would be to speak to law enforcement about those concerns and stuff like that, and tell them that I want to cooperate, but here are my concerns, and see if there's some offer of a solution that law enforcement or prosecution can give for that information and stuff like that, where the contractor would feel comfortable. But there are certain rights a contractor has, certain rights employees have, and employers. So I think the best course of action is always to ask those questions or call an attorney and get them involved in order to try to, resolve the situation, answer the questions if you would like to, or not answer the questions if you don't feel like you should.
Now, also, and again, folks, we're speaking with attorney Stephanie Murphy. Stephanie, I did talk to one neighbor, and again, people sometimes automatically think that law enforcement come to their home, hey, we'd like to get a copy of all your videotape and so forth. Well, this one neighbor said that when she was out of town, it's very possible that she has some children that are early college or even still in high school. And it's very possible they had some friends over and they may have been doing some illicit drugs. So they were hesitant, like, well, we don't want to hand it over because then what if they start going after some of these friends of my children that are then seen using illicit drugs on some of the home security cameras they have around their house. And I'm not sure what happened. We had Stephanie, and now I cannot hear her, and I'm not sure why. So she may have periodically, for whatever reason, disconnected. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove her and then have her jump back on. Okay, we're live. This can happen. Um, Again, I want to be very clear, folks, that with some of the people that you talk to and that I talk to, one of the first things they say is, "Can we talk off the record?" And please don't. But I mean, I'll let Stephanie answer the question. But what I did say to good, there she is, to the neighbor that said that. Okay, Stephanie, and you're back. If you could, and I want to just repeat the question: people that they are fearful that it's possible some illegal activities such as teen substance use could have happened in their home, and they're afraid if they handle a video, they don't know, but it's possible that it could show up in the videotapes.
I think that's a very valid concern. The last thing you want to do is share information and try to help that leads your own kids or other people into trouble with the videotape evidence. I would definitely contact an attorney on that and see what the attorney's thoughts are, and then also contact law enforcement about the concerns. Maybe there's something they could work out. But before turning over anything that's incriminating, I would definitely talk with an attorney and make sure that you're not incriminating anybody that was at your house or yourself, in all honesty, with turning over evidence. So definitely call an attorney and get their advice.
And is it possible, Stephanie, like if you put yourself in your shoes, is this a conversation where you say, hey, listen, if there was a vehicle that could be helpful in the investigation, fine, but I don't want my child and their friends getting in trouble because they're seen using some substance at a late night party at the house.
Right, and you can also contact an attorney and have the a video like screenshot of the stuff that law
Okay.
enforcement might be looking at and stuff like that. So there's ways that you can just share the information that could be relevant to law enforcement and not the entire, not the entire video.
Now, and I think, do we still have Stephanie? No, she. Oh, there you are.
I'm
Okay,
hearing.
Stephanie. I also want to just touch in with you on some local stories, such as should Rhode Island restaurants be allowed to serve these THC beverages? They've already made the use of cannabis legal. The rise of that is definitely up. Alcohol is in the decline. Do you see that this could become a legal argument where the restaurants say, "Hey, listen, we're serving substances and we're going to serve it because you can get cannabis where it's like in lemonade or things like that, where then people are drinking it." You tell me, the fact that it's become legalized, is that something that would be tough for law enforcement to stop?
I mean, definitely because it's legalized and stuff like that, you're trending in that direction of allowing it in more different places. I think there'll be, a ton of regulations and stuff that would have to be done before that was ever done. But in terms of law enforcement and enforcing it, I think some of the regulations and some of the laws would have to be more thorough and stuff like that before something like this would be turn into effect. But it's definitely the road that we're traveling down. And like you were saying, John, with alcohol usage declining and all these other things, with an increase, it's definitely I could see possibility of this down the road.
Now, this story, anti-Semitic graffiti found in 3 East Greenwich public schools. These stories are, I think, are always interesting because in the course of a school, whether it's a teacher or principal calls you into the office, the student is expected to answer all the questions. But if you're a parent, and it's possible that your child may have written something like that, what should the parent do, and what rights does a student have to basically say, I don't want to answer your questions because it's possible that, or the parents say, I don't want my child to answer questions because it's possible that they committed a crime by scribbling this anti-Semitic graffiti. Oh, hold on. Sorry, folks. Okay. And there we go. Stephanie, what about this dynamic in East Greenwich about the anti-Semitic graffiti found? And, what if a parent says to, the principal, the teacher, no, I don't want my child answering questions because they may have done something wrong.
Yeah, you absolutely have that right as a parent to be involved in any
I don't
communication
know.
with your
I
with your
see
child.
her. We've had her. I'm not exactly sure. I'm in a good area. I'm not exactly sure what happened, um, or why it's dropping out in that way. We'll see if she can reconnect. I mean, sometimes we do this and we have no problem, but it could be for whatever reason, um, a problem that she's having on her end. And uh, let's see what. Okay, okay, that's what's doing it. Okay, that is what is doing it. Um, okay, we're gonna try it right now. And Stephanie is very popular, folks. And every time someone's calling her, they're knocking her off of our
John, can you
feed.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, but we
Oh my
need to.
gosh, every single time someone calls
I
me from the prison calls me, it just knocks me off. So I
That's what it is.
apologize.
All
Trying
right,
to
that's all
do it
right.
in between prisons, but
I understand. No, and I appreciate that. But just
yeah.
and just go next time. Like if well, anyhow. But just talk about the. I'm always interested in the school story, and in this case with East Greenwich, if
Well, this hits
um
close to home. Three of my four
yes.
kids go to East Greenwich schools. My office is right in East Greenwich. So when I read the story, I think the most concerning part of it was three different schools. I mean, Hannaford has third, fourth, and fifth graders in the school.
Mm,
So, it's not the typical story you hear about like the high school or like, something like that. So in terms of if you have a child and you think, the school is going to question it, you absolutely absolutely have a right as a parent to be there for every step of the way. And that is your right as a parent. Also, you have the right to contact an attorney and have the attorney there too to answer questions. Something like this would probably go the law enforcement route too. So you're not only dealing with school, but you're dealing with law enforcement too. So you have all those rights. And as a parent, you really need to step up and exercise those rights, contact an attorney, and also make sure somebody's present when your child's being questioned.
And Stephanie, what about? I mean, someone may say, don't they have freedom of speech? But is it against the law, or is it more of something that could get somebody expelled from a school?
It truly depends on what it says and stuff like
Okay,
that. In all honesty, it's a really a case by case, whether it's illegal, freedom of speech. It could be a student conduct issue, or it could be illegal and stuff like that. It truly depends on what it says, what's being said, where it's produced, how it's being produced, and the context and everything like that. So it really, really depends. But I mean, at the worst case scenario, you're looking at school. The least scenario, you're looking at school issues into possibly, hate crimes and stuff like that. So you really
wow.
have to be careful.
And then finally, this man charged with assault after the altercation with a neighbor in Pawtucket. What advice would you give to someone to have a problem neighborhood? Things start to flare up. A lot of people then they reach out to me saying, "I have a right to protect myself," and they started it, and I felt threatened, and I have a right to defend myself. Where does this go from? Someone says I have a right to defend myself, and then suddenly they're being charged with assault.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with getting charged with assault and then saying a self defense argument is that you basically have to admit to the assault charge and then advocate for the self defense after the fact. So, really, what I would recommend if somebody called my office is there's tools in our judicial system and with law enforcement that you can do to protect yourself. You can get a no trespass order, you can get a no contact order. If you are having a problem, document it with the police, go get a no trespass order and stuff like that. Therefore, you're protecting yourself and not putting you in the spot where if you get charged with assault, that you have to be able to say, yeah, I assaulted the person, but it was in self-defense.
All
Also, what I
right,
was going to bring up for Murphy's
go ahead.
Law was
Yes.
the fact that a lot of people don't know, but an assault on somebody over the age of 60, if you're below 60, is actually a felony charge. So let's
Yep.
say you just got in a fight with somebody and it was like, a fist fight or something like that. You're under 60, the other person's over 60. That person might get charged with just a simple assault, but you'll get charged with a felony assault because the person's over 60. So I really think that's something that people need to keep in mind when it comes to, assault and battery charges, that there are ways that it can get upgraded to assault with a dangerous weapon. And that could be, a booted foot or a key or something like that could be a dangerous weapon. So you have to be really careful. It's pretty easy for it to get escalated from a simple assault up to a felony assault. So I would really recommend that, you take another step before it turns into an assault and get the restraining order, get the no trespass order, put the police on notice and document the problems.
We saw that with the Patrick Pass situation. The guy
Yes,
was 82 years old,
absolutely.
and Patrick Pass was like, "Hey, no big deal. It's just a beef at the gym."
Yeah,
Not
right?
so fast. It
No.
was an 82
No.
year old guy.
And people don't really realize how quickly, like, you just think it's like a fist fight, and all of a sudden you have multiple felony charges. Like in that case, you're
Yep.
absolutely right, John. So you really do have to be careful. And if I always take the approach as let's do something to de escalate the situation before the police get involved in charges.
Folks, again, she is attorney Stephanie Murphy. We will talk to you again.
Thanks, John. I
Stephanie, great job as
apologize.
always.
Thank you
Not a
so much.
problem. Not a
Thanks.
problem.
Bye.
Okay, we'll talk to you again, folks. We continue. She is great, and we're going to continue on our way because we do have another guest coming up. I also want to remind you, as we are both live on the radio, we're also live on Facebook and YouTube. And right now, where we are is this is what seems to be the growing consensus of the path that the individuals took were on the ground here in Tucson when they abducted Nancy Guthrie. They believe they entered through here. They also believe they exited from here. We started at the house. We're going to make our way back to the house. This portion of our program is brought to you by Propane Plus. Call them today for all your propane needs online 24/7 at propaneplus.com. Residential or commercial, you can depend on Propane Plus. So we're going to make our way back. Again, I want you to notice for those that are watching, we're live on YouTube. We're also live on our Facebook page, and we're also live on X. But I also just, it may seem inconsequential to some, but it is not lost, certainly on me. And the member of law enforcement pointed out to me is that when you take this route, we don't see any streetlights. And until we get well close to Nancy's home, and as we continue on our way here, little walking tour, you're going to see very limited stop signs. So why is that important? Well, there's less chance of someone either running, certainly not running a red light, there are no red lights, but also you're not going to see someone breeze through a stop sign. And so they don't have to stop. And there's also less chance, as someone pointed out to me, of um, someone getting pulled over saying, hey, you went through that stop sign, because you don't have them. So for the just tuning in, you can see this is very scenic. This is via Entrada, and that is the Catalina foothills. And they are as magnificent as they look in this shot. Um, you know, I see that man is walking on the other side in the shade. And maybe that's not a bad idea. We'll stay right here. We'll stay right here. I do have the black umbrella, but it's going to be very warm here today. So now I also just want to point out that JLR had, I think, posted he heard that the FBI was back in Nancy's neighborhood. That's very possible. But what I also want to just point out to people is this area is it's pretty large. So we have not seen them, but that doesn't mean that they're not here. They could be here. They could have been at someone's house a short time ago. They don't announce that they're going to be here. It's much different than the very beginning of that case when they were all out on foot in teams, and you couldn't go around a corner without running into them. But where do things stand now? There seems to be, I fully get that some people feel, they don't have a handle on it and so forth. I believe they are getting closer because of some of the video evidence. And like I said, I know that some people think it's automatic, that these things get solved. We're going to talk to, again, Jamie coming up. You're going to really enjoy him. It is also possible that so far, whoever is responsible, that they got lucky in certain respects, that they may not be that sophisticated. They may not be, brilliant at their craft, but so far they have managed to get away with this. I mean, that is just a fact. So they, I know some people, we'll let Jamie walk this out. I hope I don't sound winded because I feel fine, but it is the altitude, and it is a little warm out here. But I think it's important. This is where we're walking right now. For those that are watching, this would have been when they were leaving here. When they were leaving this area, this is the route that they believe they took, and then went right out to Riba. So again, look at the road right over here. I mean, I think that leads to a home right there up that driveway, but not that bad. Let me just get a quick sip of water. Again, I also get this is very different as far as if you're listening to the radio right now, it may seem like more of a visual. You know what you really have to be careful of? These cactus are just brutal. I was telling a friend of mine, it's not that they sneak up on you. It's just, I'll tell you, the ones that throw you are the low ones to the ground that you don't even see, because like that one, like you wouldn't even see that as you're standing there. I spent last night take 15 minutes trying to pull some of those things out of they're like splinters is what they are. But the ability, there is a neighbor around here. I won't reveal who, but there is a neighbor around here who he managed, um, he has a different type of setup. He has a certain type of employment that is different than most. But this particular person has pretty extensive surveillance system around his property. And that is the individual where the FBI has been out to see him like 10 times. So now you can see, I mean, this area, for those that are watching on Facebook and YouTube, this is almost like where you'd go to train because the hill we're going up right now, and again, this is back to Nancy's home. It's all uphill and you see the mountains up ahead. I mean, it's very picturesque. This is, it's, I don't mind it. It's a nice walk for me. It's something different. But the part that I once again want to point out for you, it's only 20 miles an hour, but at 1 a.m, not like there's cameras out here. I doubt there's any police out here in the middle of the night. And again, look on both sides. It's remarkable privacy if someone was trying to get in and out of this area and didn't want to be filmed or seen or photographed in any way. So look at that driveway. Now, again, in the Northeast, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, if you have that driveway in Attleboro, good luck first time it snows or there's ice. But out here, they don't have that. They don't have that problem. Now look how beautiful that estate looks. Again, very sweeping driveway. Now look at this. Okay, look at right here. If you pulled over right here, right where I am right now, for those that are watching, I don't know where that leads. And I'm also not going down there. But my point is, you could pull right here and you shut off the lights and you are invisible. Okay, there is a house up there and there's a house up there, but are they like really, are they looking out the window at 1 o'clock in the morning? I doubt it. So my point is this, I know and here's one of the reasons why I want to do this and demonstrate to you is for the amount of people that say, I find it hard to believe that there's no video of it and so forth. When you do this as a walk, it's actually very believable because, like look at this area. This is right where you're looking right now for those that are watching. This is where they would have been escaping with Nancy, right here on this road. You say, what if someone saw them on that side? Well, there's nothing there. What if someone saw them over here? Well, it's just a hill. So it's actually like, to me, it's very conceivable how they could get in and out of here. And the reason why, again, this is significant is they believe that this is how they got in and out of this area. And this is also how they believe they were able to get in and out of this area and essentially not be seen. Now, I am walking uphill. If I sound a little winded, it is, again, it's a heat advisory here in Tucson. But I think, again, you can imagine a vehicle coming this way at 2:30 in the morning. I don't think you encounter anyone. It's also an ability. I may walk on the other side. The other side seems to have more shade. It's also the ability to pull over, which I think is big, because we're going to talk to Jamie about that. But there's some different theories on what took so long in the house. Why were they in the house for seemingly as long as they were? I mean, it does seem odd. Yeah, we're going to stop here just for a moment. Let me get a sip of water, folks. This is live. This is live not just on the radio, but also on Facebook and on YouTube. And again, I can't stress enough how, to me, it makes sense how someone ultimately would be able to pull this off because of just the way that this whole area is shaped. Now, what is also something that we have not seen? We haven't seen any fences. Now, I will highlight them as I go by, but something that people do have around here, and I want to recommend for you. Number one, for those of you Rhode Island, Massachusetts, you could call Mike Rizzo at Capital Fence and online at capitalfenceri.com, 401 618 4407, based in Cranston, fence or gate. Repair and maintenance, serving Rhode Island and Massachusetts' highest quality. It'll last for years. Free estimate, and he's licensed and insured, which is important. Capital Fence, 401 618 4407. I will show you a lot of people have gates. And with Nancy's driveway, I've pointed that out. Okay, so you're not going to put up a fence, but you could have a gate on your driveway. And I'm going to show you a number of people have them. Why would that be important? Well, someone could still walk on the property, but they're not going to drive away from the property. Capital Fence, call Riz. Call owner Mike Rizzo. The guy's the greatest, 401 618 4407. I also, if seeing some of these beautiful estates remind you of just how much you can enjoy the outdoors, call Sean at Watson Materials, 401 885 0600. Request a free quote. Watson Materials, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island, is Watson Materials. All right, we're going to continue. I think I'm actually, though, for a little bit, going to walk on the other side that seems to, I think, enjoy a little more. No, I'll continue here. I was going to say I'd like to walk more in the shade, but, and we'll talk to Jamie coming up. And so for those that are wondering, we're going to make our way back to Nancy's home. Now, the area you're looking at, I will today contact Pima County Sheriff. It's my belief that on the first day that they had canines and cadaver dogs all over this area. This is the Entrada. And you know what else is different? Look at, like, there's some litter right there. This area is pristine. Nancy's neighborhood, the neighborhood of Nancy Guthrie is, I don't see any litter. I don't see any litter. I don't see, we haven't encountered any homeless people over here. You haven't seen any encampments. These people keep their property. Like that's the first piece of litter I've seen. Try, walking on Cranston Street with that. Now, again, look at right now. This is the road for those that are tuning in either on X or Facebook and YouTube. Remember oh, good. Let me check some of our super stickers. Look at that beautiful flower right here, right in the middle of the desert. Let me check. What do we have? Thank you to Let's Do This, Please. Yes. Yep. The family does. I mean, and also thank you to Sis Robin Ray. Thank you very much. Staying hydrated is something very important, no doubt. You guys are going to love our guest coming up. He is, you may have seen him on Fox. He's tremendous. Law enforcement, retired, but so knowledgeable. And we're in no rush. And we're going to walk through it. And I think some of you have also noted, we're going to sprinkle in more guests like that. I just haven't had the time. But this weekend, I am going to take time to edit some of the interviews. It's easy to do. I literally just haven't had the time. But especially, like people really liked Morgan Wright. People have liked Jennifer Coffindaffer. Nerdy Act was great. And Douglas McGregor was fantastic. We're going to talk to True Crime Believer tomorrow, who is just a rising superstar. I want to just stop for a moment just so you can also take in like how picturesque this is. Like I said, to me, I can remember going on vacation when I was like little growing up down and go to Bonnet Shores or Green Hill. And I mean, if you just got like 2 days like this on your vacation, it was fantastic. Let alone here in the Catalina foothills, the land of Nancy Guthrie, it is every day seemingly is like this. Now, I also, from what I understand, they have beautiful golf courses, but this is certainly not the time. Okay, I also want to thank Debbie. I want to mention another one of our sponsors, folks. Also, people like Mike Rizzo, give him a call. He is so fantastic. Okay, thank you to Debbie. Debbie, I am able actually. It's taken a while. I've been able to figure out how I can see them on the screen. So that's one less thing, but she's terrific. Folks, I also want to remind you about Kids Club. Now, April break is coming up. Maybe you want to have your children, not everyone goes away for a vacation in April. Kids Club on the Pike. They have special things April break for your children. 401 443 5336. Now, they're right on the Cranston Johnston line, right off of 295. Kids Club on the Pike. And on top of that, they also have various locations for daycare, preschool, before and after school care. They do it all. A nursery school, Kids Club on the Pike. It's a great option. 401 443 5336. So it is day 47. The search for Nancy Guthrie goes on. Now, in just a moment, this will be our first time. I talked with him early this morning, and he may be doing double appearances because I think I'm going to have him on with, um, hold on. Someone just sent me something funny. Um, he is very, very knowledgeable. Jamie Copenhaver. And I think we're going to have Jamie, he's going to say do a double where he's going to join me coming up in just a couple moments, but then he's also going to join us on TikTok live later today, where again, folks, I thank you again, Sis Robin Ray. And you know what, Jamie is, we're going to add him. I think he's ready to roll. And we're going to, yes, we are, as a matter of fact. And folks, I am just thrilled to get a chance to talk to him. He is so knowledgeable. It is Jamie Copenhaver. Jamie, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time, and especially on this day 47, when I'm trying to do the walk of what they believe the abductors seems to be the growing consensus of how they left this area with Nancy Guthrie.
John, it's always good to be with you. And day 47, wow. John, before we get started, I just wanted to acknowledge you and some of your great coverage out there. You and Brian Hinton should get an Emmy for the coverage that you guys are doing on the ground. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Jamie, let's pick it up. We'll go into some recent details, but I'm just very curious to hear some of your overall thoughts and some things that have jumped out at you regarding this case.
You know, let's set aside our differences with Sheriff Nanos.
Yep.
He's admitted to his mistakes, right? So let's set that aside. And John, as good investigators we are, we must look at the facts, not at personality issues and conflicts. So we're going to set the sheriff aside for a moment. Here's what we do know. She was taken, according to the sheriff, from her bed at that 2:30-ish hour on the morning. But here's the other part of that. The bad guy, you know, I call him the creepy video guy, right? There on the porch, kind of muffling around, not sure of his steps. What concerns me, John, in this case is the 40 or 41 minutes that the perpetrator or perpetrators had spent in that house before taking her out. That is my main concern. What occurred in that house before they left?
What is now granted, right now, It's a lot of speculation. But what are some of what you believe to be, if you were handling this case, what are some possible scenarios during the course of your professional career that you've encountered that would have someone, a perpetrator, spend that amount of time? Because, as we've kind of talked about, I think most of the time the goal is, if it's a robbery, you're trying to get in and out of there as quickly as possible. That certainly didn't seem to happen in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, let's preface this with the following. We don't know what the sheriff's office and FBI have. So we're operating on the facts that we know. We're not
Yep.
going the conspiracy theory route, right? Based on my experience, 35 years in the business, this apparently is not a robbery or a burglary going wrong. Everything would point to some type of targeted attack. We don't know what the motive of the attack is, John. But, burglars don't spend 40 some minutes in a house. We see home invasions all the time. They kick the door in, tie the people up, take whatever they need, and they leave. They never leave with a person or a body. So I'm going to discount the burglary or robbery going awry. Everything points to a vindictive attack, whether it was directly to Nancy herself or Savannah. I think we must keep that in focus, that I don't think it was a random attack, John. I think it was very targeted. I think it was planned out. But then again, we go back to that 40 minutes in the house. What occurred? I mean, there's a lot of time for cleanup. We hate to look at the grim facts of that, John, but I don't think she was alive when she left that house.
Mm. What are we to make of the blood splatter that was found on the way out? That, to me, it would seem, Jamie, at least to intimate that there was some kind of violent interaction. And I just want to, before you answer, the individual that we see, mask on, he's got the weapon in front, the gloves. It looks like someone who's. Let me ask it this way: does that look like someone who's prepared for a violent encounter?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, being the fact that, John, he was very well covered, protecting any of that DNA that may come off of his person, right? So
Yep.
the gloves, the hood, the thick layer of clothing, the outer clothing protected any potential DNA. Although it did, he had a bite mark in his mouth, that presumably could have left some DNA if he dropped that light or set it down in the house. What is the confusing part is the novice part of where he had that weapon holstered in the crotch of his pants. That just doesn't track with me as someone really a professional. Perhaps he was hired by someone else to go and, John, I hate to say it, but was he the cleanup guy? That is something in consideration.
Now, Jamie, the homes around here, that particular door, Nancy Guthrie's door. Now, where I live in the Northeast, you're in Florida. In the Northeast, you have a screen door. And so, in the nice weather, sometimes people leave the door open. And so then air comes in, no bugs come in. Around here, they don't have really a mosquito situation. So there's just a big truck coming by me. But they do have these giant doors, and it's more almost like a security door instead of a screen door. And then you have the regular door. Now, what I've learned in speaking to a number of the neighbors is a lot of times those two doors are heavy. From what we understand, Nancy, we're led to believe, was in the routine of going in and out of her garage and using the garage door. And one woman that lives here said that they never use their front door because it's like a fortress. So what about what do you see when you see the masked individual on her porch?
If you go and watch that video again, and we've all watched it repeatedly, right? He
Yep.
goes up to the ring door camera and he'll take that hand. And John, if you see his hand advancing towards that camera, was he about to knock on the door? Was my first reaction. And here's the other thing too. People are saying, well, he didn't know the camera was there. I'm going to debunk that. Most all video door cameras have some type of illumination light, a small white light, if you will, in the front of that camera. And especially if it's recording, it's going to have some type of illumination light, presumably red. So unless if he was deaf, dumb, and stupid, he wouldn't see that. But apparently he saw that and he backed off, if you will. And that's when we see him pick up this foliage and go back and kind of acting like he's covering up the video. I'm not really sure what that was all about. once again, though, I mean, was this the cleanup guy and he wasn't told all the facts? That this rings true to my mind that this was planned by someone else. He was presumably hired to go in and take care of the cleanup and what have you, not knowing that ring door camera was there. And John, the other thing is it's pitch dark there.
Yes.
Without that light, he would be tripping all over himself, right? So did he do pre-surveillance before the night of the disappearance? I would suspect so. I mean, you would have to know a little bit of your surroundings.
Could you also just explain, Jamie, for people that are tuning in, the term a cleanup guy?
I mean, I have this working theory that someone went in, and whether it was an accidental death or it was something intentional, but I almost want to think that it was an argument turned south. We're not sure what that argument was about, but perhaps this individual that we see on the ring door video was called in to go in and clean up the mess, if you will. It's a grim reality, but I want to think that he was there to package up Nancy Guthrie's body. John, let me point out something else to you. You've been around these cases for years. You've reported on these cases. How many burglars do you know that show up with a backpack full of something to commit a burglary? It just doesn't happen. So
they don't.
No. And my concern, did he have plastic, zip ties, what have you in there to clean up any potential crime scene that was left prior to him getting there?
It's funny you said that, Jamie, because as I think of it, as much as sometimes in some of the home invasions of gangs that I've covered, what people may not realize is if there's 3 or 4 gang members of a home invasion, that each one actually has a role. 2 could be muscle. Someone else is then going to be there to, 2 of them are there to search. The other ones are there to keep an eye on whoever that they have. It may seem not that organized, but actually when each one is going in, they each have their kind of defined role. Does that make sense to you?
Well, it does. I mean, we always hear the term getaway driver, air quotes, right?
Right.
So it's hard to pull these off by yourself. And keep in mind, Nancy Guthrie wasn't a small woman. You're not going to throw her over your shoulders and just take off willy-nilly. So you're going to have some pre-plan to get her out of that house, whether she's alive or not alive. And that's going to take help, in my opinion. So, going back to the sheriff, one day we hear that there are potential 1 perpetrator. Now there are potentially 2. I think there are more than 2. I think there are probably 3. You have to have somebody in a car somewhere parked on that street to get away. So I think it was 2 or 3 perpetrators in this, John.
Now, Jamie, you also, when we're talking about the delay, the amount of time they were there, could that be because the driver was, parked somewhere, actually where I'm standing, and there's a lot of dead zones here where believe me, you could park, you have the lights out, no one is coming across you. Do you think that could be the delay, or was it possible? Again, but what happened with this altercation inside the residence?
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. The sheriff and FBI went out and canvassed that neighborhood and was able to get some ring video of passing cars. Now, that one video that was released, it was a mile or 2 away from the home. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they were some cars in that area. Listening to your reporting and Brian Eaton's reporting, there's not a lot of cars at 2 to 2:30 in the morning up and down that roadway. It probably would be somewhat safe to have a car outside of the area once the dirty deed is done. Just like you said, you call in the getaway car and they load her up and off they go. So I think that's very realistic. We do know that the sheriff came out and FBI came out and said they're looking at thousands of images of vehicles. So, they're certainly on the same track that we're on. They're looking for a getaway car, in my opinion.
You mentioned this tall. Nancy Guthrie, 5'4", 150 pounds. That you're not talking about, I had an old aunt who was like 4'10" and 80 pounds, 90 pounds. You're not talking about that. If you're talking about someone 150 pounds, that's not just one person throwing them over your shoulder and moving them. And I hate to talk in those terms, but you have to be realistic. That does sound like something that would require at least 2 people.
I mean, let's look at it 2 ways. And like I said, we're not going down the conspiracy theory. We're operating on facts as we know. Take a woman of that stature, if you would. If she's alive, she should be tied up or somewhat squirming or fighting, if you will. So that's going to be a tussle. I just think it's hard pressed to throw someone alive even at her age at 84, over your shoulder and walk out the door. Now, let me throw another thing at you. The guy that shows up on the video, I mean, he wasn't in bad shape from what we can see. He was stacked with clothing. Right. But if you're carrying, and I hate to use this term, dead weight, John, that would be a little bit easier because you don't have that struggling person. But I've got to tell you, it's pitch dark. He has that light illuminated from his mouth, but try carrying a body alive or unalive out of a place where you really don't know the terrain. It's a hard feat to do by yourself. And then here's the $1,000 question, John. You get outside, what do you do now? So you have to have help getting that person off the roadway and to safety, if you will, without being detected.
Jamie, with some of the cases that you've worked in the past, were there any cases that, I don't want to say that were similar to this, but situations and cases that remind you of some of the MO that was used, whether it was a home abduction or excuse me, a home invasion, or I don't know about a burglary gone wrong, but I'm just wondering if some of the cases that you've worked in the past, where there were instances of things that kind of jumped out at you when you were investigating that led you to the suspects.
Yeah, going right back to a case that occurred in Orlando, Florida. I didn't work the case, but I covered it on the news relentlessly when it first occurred. And I'm talking about the Jennifer Kessie case. Younger woman, she was certainly nowhere near the age of 84, John, but it was an unsub case. Unknown persons or person went into her apartment and abducted her. No trace, no DNA evidence, nothing to tie anyone to that abduction. And John, it's been 10 years plus and she still hasn't been recovered and there's no lead. So that case certainly jumped out to the top of my mind when I heard about the Guthrie case. It's very similar in terms of who did it and where's the evidence to assist tracking that person or persons down. That case is still unsolved to this day and it's been many, many years.
Were there ever any suspects or motive with that particular case?
You know, much like this case, it was scattered in terms of what law enforcement was released at that time, but they have since released a video of a person of interest, if you will, walking by the archway leading up to her apartment. It's a very grainy looking video that's been enhanced to try to, at least get us, height and a weight potential, but it's inconclusive. It doesn't really show anything facial. Much like this case, they were looking for cars. They were looking for any vehicles that shouldn't have been in the area, such as construction workers, et cetera. So the case has a very similar odd strain to it in terms of both cases have not been solved, John. And we're going on 47 days of the Nancy Guthrie case. But, we just laid out the negative parts of this thing. Here's what I do know. I have 100% faith in the FBI and that that crew that they have on the ground. They're some of the best of the best. Two of those agents work the Kohlberger case, so they know what they're doing. As critical as people are with the sheriff, I have faith in the homicide detectives at the Pima County Sheriff's Department. They go to the same school, John, as every other homicide detective in the U.S. They train and work the same way. So I have faith in both of those agencies, excluding the sheriff's miscues. And John, I've got to give him credit. He's owned up to his mistakes.
He has. And Jamie, he did an interview last Friday on NBC with the Today Show. Now, to me, number one, because it's Savannah's network, I just think, they're going out of their way. They seem to be communicating almost exclusively with them. They did talk to a local reporter briefly, but let's just talk about the NBC piece that was then on the Today Show. And I'd love to just hear your interpretation of this. The sheriff said that they believe they know what the motive was. And he uses the word he. We believe we know what his motive was. And then he also wanted to remark to the reporter that it's basically the same motive theory that they came up with on day one. So my question is, number one, what does that tell you? And number two, if that day, so Sunday, February 1st, the sheriff arrives at the scene, his investigative squad is there. They spend the whole day, they're inside, they see the crime scene. They come away with what they believe is a motive. And then 7 days later, it's basically the motive theory they came up with is intact. My question is, what do you think they saw inside the house, Nancy Guthrie's home at the crime scene, that would, like, what could they have seen that led them to reach a certain conclusion?
We haven't heard a lot about her net worth, right? We don't know if she had any cash on hand that perhaps was in a safe,
Right.
money hid. I mean, our elderly folks lived in that time where you stash your money under a mattress. Not
Yeah.
saying in this case, right? So was the motive purely financial? I would want to think that was part of it, John. But what I read in, and it tracks what we're talking about with what the sheriff did on that interview, they knew exactly what the motive was, according to the sheriff, day one, which goes back and coincides with they released that crime scene, right? Remember that everybody was
Yes.
raising Cain to release the crime scene. So, could it be under public pressure that they went back after FBI arrived to go back and secure that house so FBI agents could go and get a fair shot at the crime scene? That's potential, right?
Yep.
But were they a safe? That certainly would answer some of the 40 minutes that the perpetrator had in that house if they were in fact a safe and he was trying to gain entry to it, or they were ransacking. We don't know the condition of the house. Was the
Right.
house ransacked? We know, according to the sheriff, not my words, his words, that the bedding was in a disarray. So it was obviously a violent scene in that bedroom where Nancy was taken out of her bed. But he hasn't really said anything about the rest of the house. Where tables turned upside down, where dressers turned over as if they were looking or searching for money or documents. So I think all of that is a good sign.
Folks, again, we are speaking with Jamie Copenhaver. And Jamie, I'm just curious if, we know some things that it's not, and no one fully knows exactly what happened. But I'm just curious, based on your experience, what in your mind are some of the most likely circumstances of what took place here, and where does that leave us right now?
My number one concern is the celebrity status of the daughter, Savannah Guthrie.
Yeah.
She's all over the board. She's been in the media spotlight for years, right?
Yep.
Could this be someone that said, "Hey, wait a minute, here's a celebrity on TV that we see every day. Her mom lives by herself. Was this a crime of opportunity to go and it's a financial crime? If Savannah has money, mom must have money, or whatever the case may be." That would be my first concern. My second concern, was it a direct targeted attack against Nancy for something Savannah may have said or done on the air? And this was a revenge attack. That certainly concerns me, right?
Yeah.
But let me point back out to this latest interview by Sheriff Nanos. They knew the motive from day one. So that almost tells me that it was a targeted attack, presumably something financial or document related that the bad guy was looking for. So, it's one of the two. But was it a random burglary, John? I don't believe that in any part of my being. I've never seen a random burglary turn out like this. It just doesn't happen.
Could you also, and again, folks, he's so knowledgeable. We're lucky to have him, Jamie Copenhaver. Jamie, could you also just explain to people? Some people almost think it's routine that someone is abducted, but when you talk about risk, I've again worked with police, and they tell me of, like, that's why, burglaries right now as we speak during the day, people are at work. This is when a lot of burglaries are happening. Police tell me every Monday morning their phone starts ringing. A business owner says, "Hey, somebody either did break into my business over the weekend, or they tried to break into my business." And the reason they're finding out is the business was closed over the weekend. But the high risk element of, number one, entering a home with the homeowner there, and then number two, abducting her, and the things that can go wrong if somehow someone saw the plate, if they got in an accident, if they got pulled over for running a red light, if they got a flat tire, and then suddenly there's Nancy Guthrie in the back. This whole mission, you tell me, but of going in and then leaving with her, it just seems very, very high risk.
Well, let me give you another operating theory. What if the neighbor was walking the dog and you're carrying Nancy Guthrie over your shoulder
That's
to a
right.
waiting car, right?
Yes.
Risk
Wow.
reward. John, I don't know. 35 years in the business, both at law enforcement and the private sector. I can tell you, I have never had a burglary call or a home invasion call where the circumstances are similar. And let
Mm,
me debunk another conspiracy theory. We hear a lot about the cartel, right? We've heard
yep.
that theory. Let me debunk that right away. A cartel doesn't operate that. They're going to go kick the door in.
Yep.
If that screen door, that metal door, doesn't come off easy, they're going to back a truck up. They're going to put a chain on it, rip it off, and they're going to take her, and they're going to be in and out in under a minute and a half or 2 minutes. They're
Mm,
messing around for 40 minutes in the house. So
right.
it goes back to exactly what you're saying, risk versus reward. If you're a burglar, put yourself in a burglar's position, you go in, it's an older lady. She presumably can't hear well, alien heart condition. It should be an easy grab, right? You go in, you go in the house, you start loading stuff up. She wakes up, John, because she sees or hears you. The burglar is not going to wrap her up and carry her out. They're going to,
No.
she's 84. She can't catch them. So you're going to run, which goes back to it's a targeted attack. We just don't know what the motive is. My better guess is it's either a revenge,
Yeah.
something to do with Savannah, or it's a totally financial issue where they thought that she was stacked up with belongings in that house, and things just went south and they took her. But the normal burglary guy just does not operate like this, John. They're not going to do that.
No. And they would just try to get out of there. Is it possible, Jamie, that there's more details in the house that the police have not told us about? Something that was, written down, a note left behind, or something spray painted on a wall, or, is it possible that there's evidence inside that if we knew what the evidence was, we would say, oh, okay, now we know what we have here.
And I think that's exactly how this is going to play out.
Okay.
And John, I think an arrest will be made. I don't think it's going to go cold. I think they're on the track of the bad guy or the bad guys. I think we'll see an arrest. But yeah, you're right on point. If it's a revenge issue, they're going to let people know it was a revenge taking, right? Or unaliving, if you will. I hate to use that word, but
Yeah.
it's a grim possibility. I don't think she left that house alive, and it's saddened to say that. So, were they writing on the walls? That wouldn't be the first case that we've seen. Were they notes left behind? Very possible. We do know that the sheriff, and listen, you have to listen to what the sheriff says very carefully. He will give you some clues if you listen.
Yep.
They were apparently DNA in the floor, one part of that house that he explained, because he had qualified it with they were having trouble separating some of that DNA in the panels, right?
Yes.
So there
yes.
were some DNA left in the floor. We don't know to what extent. Here's another telltale sign. And I've said it myself. I talked to Tim Miller with Texas Equisearch. I can't believe that his group or the United Cajun Navy isn't out full force searching for this woman. The sheriff isn't interested in that, John. Ask yourself why he's not interested. I think they know a lot more than what they're telling us.
Yes. And I'm glad you said that, Jamie, because some people, they say, oh, Nancy liked to hike in this mountain. You should go search there. Or there's these canyons, 15, 20 miles from there. Could you just explain why police, they kind of, I guess, hold the cards. They know what they're looking for. They have the information. And I've always learned since I've been working with police, because people will say that to me, why don't you go search here or there? And I say, I follow where the police are. And the police have stayed in this general area of Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood.
I mean, there's a reason for that, right? We know
Yep.
that we've seen some searchers in the foothills early on, and we've seen some sporadic aircraft activity, presumably
Yes.
with FLIR or what have you, right? But they're within that small zone around her house. You and I talk about it off the air. I mean, you have Texas, you have Reach, you have all kinds of places that you can just throw a body. That's a very good possibility too, that she was dumped in a dumpster or some type of apparatus where it was taken to the dump. What kind of doesn't track with that theory, though, is we haven't really seen any searches at the local dump, which we
No.
saw them in the Jennifer Kessie case. They were searching the local dump for her remains or her body. So we haven't seen that, but it's certainly a possibility. But back to what we were talking about earlier. Day one, they knew the motive. They were something in that crime scene that was overwhelming that said, hey, this is why she was taken, that would probably preclude them from actually doing any heavy duty searching like we've not seen. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there that they have already recovered her body and they have her in hiding or witness protection. That's just crazy conspiracy stuff, John.
Yeah.
We've got to follow the facts. And like you said, you've been doing this a long time. Follow the police activity,
Yes.
and it's going to lead you to the clues.
Yeah. I've had people say that to me, and I try to explain police can't knowingly lie to the public, or the case would be tossed. It'd be thrown out of court. And maybe the judge would say, what? You were lying to us. Boom. Case dismissed. You can't. I've had people say that to me. Jamie, here's what I also am just wonder about and want to get, just because of your background. Right now, there seem to be FBI, they seem to be coming back. And maybe they did talk to someone, but they have a new team and they're coming in and talking to them. And they're retracing their steps, if you will. Is that common in investigation of like, let's review what we have, let's get a fresh set of eyes on this?
Yeah, I mean, you want your second string to come in and relieve those guys that have been out there. John, you're on the scene. I'm hearing from forces that some of these FBI agents have been sleeping in their car. They're working 20 hours a day. We know that operations center was moved to Phoenix, right? It's a bigger warehouse where they can warehouse more people. And you want fresh eyes on this. You're going to have the same case agents that were assigned that's going to maintain that authority, or the case agent, until this case is resolved. But you're always going to have resources regrouped, second eyes, and go out and re-interview people, just like we're seeing. Here's something we don't hear a lot about, we don't talk about, are the analysts that are behind the scenes, John, that are working the same hours.
That's right.
Phoenix office, that are tracking down leads every single day. They're going and reviewing hundreds of thousands of hours of video looking for cars. And let's not forget the Walmart where these items potentially were bought. All of that video had to be gone through by these analysts. So it's all hands on deck. Not bringing the political spectrum into this, but the president said whatever they need resource-wise would provide it. So that's exactly what they're doing. They're taking advantage of new personnel coming in and getting a second set of eyes. I think it's a great thing.
Jamie, final question. And again, you've been terrific in, folks, we are going to talk to them this afternoon on TikTok Live as well. But Jamie, what do you make of the videos that Savannah put out? How much of that was just the family? How much of that was information that the sheriff, that they had shared with the family? Or how much of that might have been what maybe they had said, okay, if you're going to do the video, here's what you want to mention. What do you make of those videos of Savannah Guthrie that we've seen?
I think they were legit. I think they were heartfelt. I think they were certainly, we saw the real Savannah in that video.
Yes.
But here's the deal. The FBI are pros at behavioral, and they have the science for behavioral. They have a behavioral unit, John, that work these cases. So I can almost assure you that statement was somewhat not scripted, but it was coached by FBI special agents of the behavioral unit to throw out key or targeted words that may appeal to the kidnapper or kidnappers to get some sympathy. So, you always want to humanize yourself to the abductors. Hey, we're just like you, right? We're waiting to contact you. We want to hear from you. It was a plea, gut-wrenching, but it was a plea by Savannah and her family. That the FBI was all over that statement. That shows that they're cooperating with the family. But here's another caveat to that, John. Savannah has probably one of the biggest microphones on the planet. She could be on the TV every single day. We haven't heard that. So follow not what you see, but what you don't see happening, which is Savannah Guthrie all over the TV pleading for the return of her mom. John, that tells me she knows something very grim that just hasn't been released to us.
Jamie Copenhaver, how can people follow your great work? And again, this is, I really appreciate you, conversation, your time. How can people follow your terrific work?
John, I just opened up a TikTok account, so it's real Jamie Copenhaver on TikTok. That's all I have. The greatest platform on earth. But listen, my friend, before we go, thank you for what you're doing. I followed your streaming out there for 46 days. And I'll hold true to it, John. You and Enton need to get an Emmy for your coverage out
I
there. Good
appreciate
job.
that. So, Jamie, excellent, excellent, excellent. And I will talk to you later this afternoon on TikTok. Thank you, Jamie.
Be safe, my friend.
All right, folks, there he is. And again, on this day 47, wasn't he terrific? Folks, where else do you hear that type of back and forth? Now, I'm going to continue. I don't even know. Let me check what time it is. But he is fantastic. Okay, so it's 11:13 on this day 47. And what we've been doing for those, and again, I want to thank everybody, um, both watching on Facebook and X and YouTube. Remember, on YouTube, you can send super chats and stickers on excuse me, on YouTube. On Facebook, you can send stars. We will be live on TikTok this afternoon. Jamie is very, very knowledgeable. He has tremendous experience. You can tell very, very media friendly. The route that we're on as we continue our morning walk here is this is the route that they believe the abductors came down, granted by vehicle, but this is the Entrada. And I thought it'd be interesting and helpful for those of you following it to get an idea of the route that they took. By the way, I also hope you, I don't know if you guys can see, what's also funny to me is everybody that goes by waves to me just because they see me out here walking all the time. But as I've explained, everyone has their own style, right? Everyone has their own style. What I do, what works for me, what works for me is following the police, talking to police, but then, oh, wait a minute. Is that a driveway? No, but walking. And I was telling the people on TikTok, I'm actually invited to a party, a neighborhood party on Saturday. And I was walking by these people's home, and it was a husband and wife, and they were coming back from somewhere, and they kind of motioned me over, but a lot of people do. And they said, we're having some of the new neighbors over on Saturday if you'd like to come by. Initially, I thought it was a pool party, but apparently it's like a March Madness type party, which sounds fun. But anyhow, I said I'm not a neighbor, and the husband said, "Oh well, I thought I saw you go into that. There are some people that moved in that are new, but they invited me in and they would give me water and talk to me about the case. But what was funny to me is they thought I was their new neighbor. So they're really, really nice. And I explained now actually, and they said, well, we see you walk by our house every day, sometimes twice twice a day. And then I said, no, and explained who I am and why I'm here. And they said, well, we still like you to come by on Saturday. So again, everyone does what works for them. It works for me. Again, I don't want to be redundant here, everybody, but you can tell, right? Again, same theme, no street lights, um, no house right on the road. Uh, perfect. I don't want to say perfect escape route. Let me just say a quick hello to everybody. I mean, I thought it'd be a little different. There we are. I thought it'd be a little different to take you kind of on the walk. I could have driven it and it would have taken like 4 minutes, but if you walk it as I do, you to me you get a better sense of what it really looks like as opposed to, if you're just like breezing through. And this will bring us back to Nancy's home on this day 47, and then we'll see if there's any activity at the home. Now, again, it is a heat advisory here in the Tucson area. I'll check the temperature in a minute, but it's I'm told it only is a heat advisory when it's over 100 degrees. So it gives you a sense because but look how different that is. Cactus. Savannah Guthrie calls herself, I saw an interview, a daughter of the desert, and she considers seeing these cactus like old friends. So, and they have some beautiful ones in front of her, the home that she grew up in. Folks, all right, we'll continue. Get the three of them. It's so different. And they are like all over the place. Now at nighttime, it is, you can't imagine how dark it is at nighttime. Good luck. And then like you're not walking anywhere. These things are, they're like porcupine coming at you. They're like green porcupine. My good. Look at that nice big cactus. You know what's funny is I drove past, it said like, I don't know, nursery or something. And when you go, I drove past and stopped at this nursery. And what do you think they sell at the nursery? It's all cactus. All cactus. As if they needed some more. Now, let me see. I don't think that's my street. No. Or is it? No. You know, I see parking. I don't think I want to go that way. I think I want to go up a little bit more. Hold on, everybody. Would not be the first time I'm lost in these woods. I mean, area, I'll tell you that. No, I just continue. I don't know what, oh, okay, I could go that way. And then that leads to Maryville. I'll just keep going. We'll go to the next one. Again, see this area right here? Ooh, with the dirt. Just noticed that. But see, like if you pulled over here, like look, if you pulled a car right here, 1:30 in the morning. I mean, there's nobody around. There's no street light. Shut off the lights. No one's seeing you. I assure you, no one's seeing you. Okay. Well, this is the route that they believe that the abductors took. Notice how quiet. Now again, granted, heat of the day, not a lot of traffic. You know, one of the neighbors told me, because I've noticed, I mean, it's not like a lot of traffic. It will be busy sometimes in the afternoon, school bus, blah, blah, blah. Look at this huge cactus over there. But one of the neighbors told me, said, you should see it in like June, July, August. Like, well, a lot of these people apparently leave and go somewhere else. Utah, I don't know, just somewhere north. So it gets a little hot in the summertime. Unless you don't mind it, the temperature 110 every day. They also say, well, it's cooler than Phoenix. Cooler than Phoenix. Very quiet. Boy, Jamie's great. And folks, again, I want to be very clear. I mean, listen, we all want to be optimistic about Nancy. No one wants to come out and say that, but I think the idea that the guy on the porch was hired, like who hired them? Wow. I mean, a total abduction. God, so frightening. Poor Nancy. Again, we don't know, but I also feel terrible for Savannah. Oh, imagine like what kind of nutcase does that? I'm angry at something you said, so we're going to abduct your mother. Oh, God. How ghastly. God. Who would do that? You know, that's the other thing I want to mention. I get so angry thinking about those goons that took poor Nancy, whoever it was. Like, you can't be lower form of life taking an 84-year-old woman out of her bed. The frick? And not even like a real robbery? Not like running off with. You know, you see the movie Heat? That was like low, um, 8 figures, Nate said, John Voight. So the take was going to be 10 to 12 million. And that's when Neil McCauley, De Niro, said the bank is worth the stretch. But, you know, we're going to go in and abduct this lady. What's the take? Is it 10 to 12 million? Like, what is the point here? It's so horrible. Look at those cactus. Again, you're going to hear a lot about this route. Okay. And you know what else I can almost predict? Is after we are making our way back to Nancy's house, by the way. But after I do this in probably 2 to 3 days, some people will contact me and say, you should do the route that they think they took. I did. I walked it on Thursday, day 47. I totally misjudged how long this was going to take. Maybe because of the hills. Maybe because of the distance. But again, not to be redundant, but this is a different landscape. You know, I know that these people enjoy peaceful, private, secluded, no lights, right? They even consider it light pollution, like street lights are pollution, so they don't want them. All of that is fine, but boy, you make yourself a target. You got to have a dog. You got to have security, lights, cameras, alarms. Christ. Unless you want to depend on the sheriff and his merry men trying to find you, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. Okay. I also want you to note, now this is, I'm walking towards, because we walk towards traffic, the way that they would have been escaping out of here. No stop signs. No stop signs and no street lights. Now, okay, now this is where we're going to retrace our steps, I should say, back to Nancy's home. And we're going to be there pretty quickly. Just want to check any messages. So last night, Nancy Grace and others were all over this. Just to repeat, this is the route. Seems to be the working theory of how they got out of here, how they came in. There is a, okay. Oh, okay. Thank you, Debbie. I should have seen the screen. Thank you to All Savvy Music. Yes, it is a nice walk. If you lived here, this is the type of walk you'd be on. Thank you for that super chat. This is where we're going to go. And you'll see we're back in front of Nancy's neighborhood. So I think I am going to go to the party on Saturday. Again, I didn't want them, I told them up front, like, listen, I don't live around. We thought you were the new neighbor. How funny is that? Well, we always see you walking by our house. Well, I saw you walk into the new house. I said, no, I was chatting with them, but I don't live. Um, but I may go just to watch. I mean, it's like a March Madness party, I think. Have a brew, have something to eat, watch a little college basketball, take a break from the action. Always nice to be invited. There's a man that travels for work, and he lives around here, and he said, you spend more time in my neighborhood than I spend in my neighborhood. I thought, oh, no, we're on the case. All right, now you're going to see this is how, they would have been making their way to Nancy's home. See the beautiful Catalina foothills in the distance. Mention again, it's so horrible is like for Savannah, the home she grew up in, of which certainly seemed like they had a lot of happy memories. And, now it's all kind of out the window. But I agree with Jamie. I mean, if you notice, folks, there's definitely a feeling among law enforcement that this will be solved. And I think Jamie also pointed out something very important, and that is that, President Trump basically said, whatever resources they need. So the FBI, they have all their top people working on this. And they're also still very, very involved. So I know someone said, have you seen them today? I mean, I haven't seen them, but that doesn't mean that they're not here. It just means I haven't seen them. So I don't know. With some of these driveways, even if the feds were here, they pull up to a house to talk to someone. I mean, I'll say this, I haven't seen them. I don't believe they're out like canvassing, walking around the way they were in the beginning. But a lot of these homes, if they did want to talk to someone, at this point, I think they'd even make an appointment. Well, I guess like call in advance and make sure the homeowner's home and so forth. Thank you, Debbie. Well, thank you, G. Ferraro. Thank you. All right, now, let me check my map. There's no time to take a wrong turn. Oh, I go left, right? I mean, I go left. I believe I go left. Yeah. Look at that cactus. Now, just to recap also, that I am going to try to confirm with Pima County Sheriff today. It's my understanding that on the first day and two, but first the first day, that all this area was covered and searched by canines. Okay. And I think a left up here. Again, same thing. Streetlights, pitch black. Look at this area right here. You pulled over right here. You're off the road. And I'm telling you, right there, lights out. No one sees you. Nothing. Maybe you say, stay right there, and I'll text you if we need you. Or whatever. All right, so right now it's 94 degrees. This afternoon, it's going to hit 100. Do I go left here? Yes. Okay. Yeah, Maribel. Okay. So I'll communicate with the sheriff. We'll stay up on the case. And then I'm going to have a light lunch. And then we'll be live on TikTok later. And that's what day 47 is like. Unless something breaks, which would be fantastic. But I use the umbrellas. It's not that bad. I told the story. I went to Walmart and I said, now, where are the umbrellas? And the kid said, I don't think we carry them. Well, on your website, it says not only do you carry them, but it says they carry them in this store. He's like, yeah, I don't know. I said, don't you want to try to help me find them? You work here. You work here. I'm a customer. Don't you want to help me try to? So I walked down, found umbrellas. Before I left, I said, they're aisle 8, by the way. Wally Walmart. Now, last night also on the way home, I stopped at Trader Joe's. I've never been to a Trader Joe's. First of all, there's nothing to eat. I'm getting a little punchy from the heat and the walk. No, we're almost to Nancy's. Trader Joe's. People in front of me say to the cashier, I got like 4 things. You have the best papaya. I'm like, what? Papaya? I don't think I've ever. Papaya? You have the best papaya. I don't even know how you serve that. You'd be announcing best. So anyway, it's my turn. The cashier, the Trader Joe's. Never been to one. People walk around in masks. Cashier, female, pigtails. No offense, I don't think it works. She had more tattoos than I could count, including a tattoo like right on her upper lip. Like, who told you that that's attractive? So I get my things and she's like, do you want a bag? Do I want a bag? No, I'll just fucking juggle the stuff walking out. Like, yes. Yeah. Oh, is this like, am I killing a fucking tree by asking for a bag? Jesus. Yes, I want a bag. No, I'm going to carry the 4 things out of here like I stole them. Yeah. Listen, one brown paper bag is not going to save the planet. All right, pigtails. So, pigtails, age 40. Christ. Never again. Not that great. My bag. No, that's all right. I'll fucking juggle them. Yeah, I'd like to carry them, in a shopping bag like a normal person with a receipt. Oh, am I killing a tree? Oh, you have the best papaya. What? I don't know. I don't. Have I ever had papaya? Isn't that like papaya juice or something? I don't even know. And he said it so loud. And she was nodding like, we do have the best papaya. I'm like, what are you people talking about? Getting the hell out of here. Okay. So back to our regularly scheduled programming. Nancy Street. So this is how they believe, on a serious note, how they arrived. I took you from the main road, and then they believe, on a very serious note, that this is how you notice no red lights, no stop signs, no street lights, and full speed. Now, investigators, from what we understand, looking at, and the whole thing that stems from is a suspicious vehicle that was spotted in this area multiple times that day, Saturday, January 31st. So that's what this is about, that the FBI is trying to identify that vehicle. I also want to show you, look at that spot right over here. Now, this is Nancy Street, and there's another spot you could just park. No one's bothering you there. But when you see reports about a suspicious vehicle and the path of which they think they came in and out of her neighborhood, I just walked it. Ooh, blue car. Don't tell me they're taking a right. Whoa, I think that's Annie's car. Look at this timing. When the car went by, oh, somebody, who is that? I think that is Annie. Annie and Tomaso's vehicle. I think is that, I don't know who that is. Is that Damon? How about the timing of this? Now, if that is her, I'll talk to her. Get the AirPods out. Okay, there we go. Good. Now we're good. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. Mark the Shark is here. He's got his drone up. I think if Debbie could just send me a message saying that the audio is okay. Okay. Okay, there we go. And we are okay. And the sound you hear is Mark the Shark's drone. Just go this way. Oh, I'd love to talk to them if they're here. We're not going to miss anything. Here's the vehicle. I just want to see if they're going to open the front door. Nope. Okay. Okay, now I totally could be wrong, but to me that looked like Annie and Tommaso's vehicle. I thought I did see an individual. I thought it was a male. We'll see if we could talk to someone. We will be ready just in case. Okay, now as you again, hello everybody. This is right in front of the home of Nancy Guthrie. We do have some activity here, and it looks like it could be Annie or Tommaso. I believe it's that blue vehicle. We just completed the walk of the route that they believe that the abductors took. Okay, Debbie says it's good. Folks, remember, hello to everybody on YouTube. You can make sure you follow the page. Love all the super stickers. How long? So that, well, it seemed longer. 9,200 steps. All right, so that was a good 4 mile. So I'm going to guess it's 2 miles back and forth. But boy, it took a lot longer. But we'll stay right here. Now, again, I also want to be very clear. If that is them, I mean, I'd like to talk to them. I'm not trying to haunt them. Give them an opportunity. If they say no, I'd prefer not to say anything. That is completely fine. But it is day 47. We do have some activity at the house. Hope you guys enjoyed walking the route. Again, I know some people could drive it, but I like to kind of walk it to show you. I think, to me, I just pick up more when I do that. That's why I do it. Again, thank you to everybody on YouTube. We have our Facebook crowd. We're also live on X. So X, Facebook, YouTube. We spoke with attorney Stephanie Murphy, and then, boy, Jamie is just fantastic. Jamie was great. Jamie Copenhaver. We're going to have him back. He was excellent. Day 47, activity at the home. Mark the Shark. This guy is amazing. He's got the 10 up. He is such a good guy. He's got a drone. He's got Starlink. So funny. All right, let's see who this is in the vehicle.
Yeah, we need to get a submarine guy so we can put him in the pool.
Can you hear that drone? Again, if you're on YouTube, just please make sure you follow and subscribe to the page. Same with Facebook. You can share that you are watching. Again, it is day 47. A little bit of a heat advisory here in the Catalina foothills. Got a good crowd on Facebook. We have a good crowd on YouTube. We have a very good crowd on X. Now, if you're watching on X, you can certainly make sure you follow our YouTube page or our Facebook page or TikTok. You don't want to miss out on anything. He's got the drone. As soon as I saw that blue vehicle, I thought, wow, I think that's Annie and Tommaso's vehicle, because that was the vehicle that was in their driveway that was released back to them. We'll play this out. I mean, I was going to go for lunch, but I'll take a lunch break. We'll wait till, let's see what happens here. And I want to be very clear. If that turns out to be Annie or Tommaso, I would love to at least ask them if we could talk to them and be very respectful. They could say, I choose not to. That's totally fine. But I'd like to at least ask. I want to give a shout out, folks. Martha Shark, not only as soon as I saw it, and then we saw him on the screen running right across the street. Again, everybody on YouTube, thank you for the super stickers. Make sure you follow. Thank you for the super chats. We have Debbie Armand. We have the comments on the screen. Day 47. And I think, actually, I know. I'm here. My working plan right now, let me look at the calendar here, is what's today? Today's day 47, but it's also Thursday, March 19th. How about tomorrow's the first day of spring? All right, so I'm here all through next week. And then the following week is Holy Week. I am going to, I want to see my family over Easter weekend. So next week, I think I will be here till either Holy Thursday or Good Friday. And then I'll figure out the week of the 6th. I don't know is the answer. So I may regroup for a couple days or I may come straight back. I don't know. But I'm solid for the next 2 weeks, at least, with your help. If you like the on the ground coverage. Now, I believe we're the first ones that I know of that have walked that route.
Hi. Oh, dang, I almost lost the drone. Shoot. Dang, I almost lost the drone. The car parked right in front of me. Oh, man.
I see them. I think they went into the back of the house.
Imagine it falls on his head.
I need to hydrate. Okay, I see someone around the vehicle. Oh, okay, now that does not look like Annie or Tommaso, but they're getting back into the vehicle.
That was nice of them. Came and watered the plants.
I think they have some on speakerphone.
That was nice of them.
If you're watching on Facebook, please click the like button. You can always share that you're watching. And if you're on YouTube, again, make sure you subscribe. So I think this has worked out pretty well. We've been going 3 hours now. Took you along the route that they believe the abductor entered and left. We took you along the route where they believed the suspicious vehicle was. We also had 2 great guests with attorney Stephanie Murphy and also Jamie. And you got to see a little bit. I just think it helps you get a sense of the neighborhood a little bit, the surroundings. You know, I've seen people say, you know, maybe they put her in the water. Everyone watching, did you see any water as we were walking along? No, it's a desert. There's no water. It doesn't mean that there aren't some hidden caverns or things like that, but there's no water. Definitely not. And I am going to oh, just sitting there. Oh, here we go. I'm going to email the sheriff about to try to get more info on the search of that day. So here it is. Whoever this is, the unidentified mystery driver. See which way they're going to go. I don't think it's either one. That did not look like Annie or Tommaso, but they have left. So, folks, again, I want to thank everybody. This is kind of be our somewhat new schedule, so to speak. We're going to be doing. I like the idea, especially. Here's the thing: over the next couple of days during this heat advisory, the plan is maybe even start a little bit earlier, but start earlier in the day, and then see what happens, and then again, TikTok live later. A lot of guests. Thank you, everybody. Look at that, almost at 4,800 watching between our 3 platforms. Now, again, for those that are on TikTok, the plan is, weather permitting, we're going to come back and we'll do TikTok live a little bit later. But you got an idea of the walk. Thank you to everyone for the follow. Thank you for all the stars on Facebook. Thank you for the super chats. And right now, day 47 in the search for Nancy Guthrie.